Many people are searching for their purpose. What am I here to do? Why does my life matter? The issue with this is we're all taught to look externally. What I'm going to teach you, and maybe you've heard it before, is how to find it from within. Watch this video. I always like to use my most recent clients as examples because it's so validating and confirming to watch their journey and hear their story and see how what I've discovered in life actually works. And it works really well. And so I'm not going to mention names, but I will talk about a recent session I had. So many people come to me when they're in their, I call it quarter life crisis or Saturn returns around, mid to late 20s to early 30s, because everything starts to shift. This is when you're finding alignment with your true self. And many people don't know how to navigate that because they've never been taught what's my true self, what's my idealized version, how do I get rid of the opinions of others and really stand in my own truth. And so this particular client is experiencing what I would call the trifecta of that. Usually what this looks like is a relationship either ends or gets really serious. You may move cross country, across the world, your career might shift, something big or many things big happen. And she had kind of all of them all at once, a relationship, a career, and a move. So we were talking recently and she asked me, I feel like I'm suffering. I don't know why I have to suffer. And I asked her what that meant. And she said, look, I don't know what the meaning is to my life. What am I here? What am I here to contribute? Why does my life matter? What is it that I'm doing here? And this is something I hear so often. And it's a scary feeling to have. It can go many different levels of, I just don't know what the point is to I really don't know what the point is. And it goes, there's a large scale. For her, it was pretty serious, but not crazy serious, where she felt like I'm just not understanding. When I say not serious, some people come and they're like on the verge of suicide. This was not one of those. I don't take on people like that. That's too much for what I do. But that's when I assign you to someone who can deal with that. This happens a lot during this time of life, though. That's why I'm saying it. A lot of people wake up and they say, what is the point? So if you're one of those people, don't feel crazy, and maybe this can help you a little bit. If you're one of those people who wakes up and saying, what is the point of my life? What am I here to do? Please keep watching. So she's telling me this, and I'm asking her to describe what she's doing in life now that's bringing her joy, or that's bringing her a sense of desire, a sense of happiness. And she was telling me, starting this fitness thing, lots of different aspects I won't share because I don't want to make it obvious. And I said, great, so what does that do for you? She's like, oh my gosh, when I do it, I feel like such joy, like this endorphin release, like this. And I said, oh, interesting, opposite of suffering. But okay, yep, interesting. And I said, so why is it you want to do this for a lot of people? And she said, well, I feel like I get to contribute to their joy. And so this is the simple phrase, right? What you're seeking is seeking you. She is seeking to end her suffering. How does she do that? By doing these exercise classes. How does she feel like she contributes? By contributing the joy to others, contributing by bringing joy to others. So this is what's interesting to understand as well. Much of our suffering, then traveling back to her original idea of where her own suffering began, it always comes down to the exact same thing. Separation. When we don't feel belonging, when we don't feel connected, when we don't feel united, we feel separate. And many of us have this belief inside of us that in order to belong, I'm going to suffer. So she also had this in her own way. And I said, oh, that's really interesting, because when we're younger, we do believe that. To fit into our collective, we have to kind of find a way to belong to them, our family, our society, right? As we get older and wiser and more awakened, we realize that maybe it's the world that's wrong, that needs to include us. Maybe it's not us. So how can I feel included? Oh, I'm going to bring my gift, what I'm seeking, It's actually seeking me. The world needs more of this joy that I've found. I'm going to bring myself out into the world, and guess what happens? That's my purpose. So I'm going to give you my own scenario because I was telling her, she's one of my only clients that I tell all my personal stories to that have to do with what she's going with because it makes sense. And so I'm going to share mine with you so you can relate. So for me, same type of issue. I'm born into an environment that I'm different than. I feel different. I'm feeling sensitive. I'm seeing the world differently. The way that I think is just, as you can probably see by my videos, an alternative way of thinking. I call it new thought leader. There's a lot of new thoughts out there that don't know how to lead because they're being told they're wrong on how they do it or how they think. So my story really started in the education system where at age 7, I'm being labeled with attention deficit. Well, I know that I don't have an attention deficit. I just know that I see things differently and I feel real weird about it. And I don't know why nobody else is getting this. It's so obvious to me. I also don't want to pay attention or do things that seem very boring to me or rudimentary or done in a different way than I do them. So this is the problem with our society is we're labeling people and giving people sort of this ceiling saying, well, you have a disorder, or you have anxiety, or you have depression. We're treating the symptoms. We're not looking into why that is the case. So what we're doing is we're telling people there's something wrong with you that you cannot fix. Wow, I feel powerless, right? So for me, that was tough. But I just remember thinking, for some reason, this doesn't feel right. And as I started my teens, I started really looking into a lot of holistic alternative methods and understandings about the world, holistic sort of psychology, holistic healing. And I noticed that the holistic approach is that you're already whole. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing broken. It's just in need of healing. So I thought to myself, I have to suffer to fit society's view of what's right. Because I guess I'm wrong, but in my opinion, I was just different and had I thought, a cool view of things. But for me to feel like I fit in or I belong, I need to abandon my own way of doing things. I need to abandon myself. I need to abandon my way of thinking, way of seeing the world differently. I have to abandon that. That's extremely painful. What happens when you abandon yourself is you, of course, then rely outside of yourself, and you can never be totally attuned with yourself. So this went on for a lot of years until I got to the point where I thought, I'm just going to have a lot of courage and start sharing my thoughts on my vlog. I'm going to start sharing my insights. I'm going to start sharing what makes sense for me. And guess what happened? So many people started healing because of these thoughts. That's a lot to take on, but what I notice is it's not me. It's just an idea that I have. It's just something that I want to share. And so this is the point. As other people started healing and owning their own truth, it was me basically being what I was seeking. I was seeking something or someone externally to validate my way of thinking. But what I finally had to do is validate it myself. Trust in myself, believe in myself, use it on myself, share it with people close to me, see that it was really empowering them and benefiting them as well, and empowering them as well. And then I had the courage to share it with a broader audience. What happened when I started sharing it is I realized there was nothing wrong with the way that I was thinking. In fact, it was actually quite beneficial to the collective. And so what I realized is it was really me against the world at one point. Everyone thinks this way, I think different. I'm going to stop abandoning myself to fit their thoughts because the ones that I'm having are benefiting me and a lot of people more than a lot of the current thoughts. So I'm just going to share it and realize that perhaps you don't need to change to fit into the world. The world needs to shift to let you fit in. So what this means is we are here to be the change. Every one of us has a story like this. Mine happened to be the way that I'm thinking about things and healing things. Yours might be bringing joy to the world, this, that, whatever. What I realized is this global suffering that all of us are feeling on some scale is because we are separate, different. Whether you grew up entitled or you grew up with nothing, you still don't feel like you're everybody else. And everybody just wants to feel like they are connected. And so for me, I feel extremely connected these days because not only am I 100% claiming my truth, but I'm also sharing that truth and engendering your ability to claim yours. Because what I feel and what I think and I would love my story to be an example of is living in my own integrity, regardless of who thinks it's right or wrong, up or down, left or right, whatever. The whole world is saying, this isn't the way you should think. And I'm saying, why not? It sure works for me and a lot of other people, and it sure makes a hell of a lot more sense, to be honest. So it's not about you need to change so I can fit. It's you don't need to change, but please include this new dynamic as well. One of the chapters in my book is really about changing the education system to include the 8 different types of learning rather than the 1. So that we don't label people and separate people more and create more suffering and self-identity issues and all the other negative patterns that come from self-abandonment. But instead, we're including everyone to say and to see that who I truly am, naturally, is good. So that's my little rant for the day. I hope you liked that. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And please share. I'd love for more and more people to be able to really own their truth and love themselves. I'll see you soon. Namaste.